Go ahead. Well, from the neck, yes. Sorry, from the head and neck, yeah, gravity is bringing it down. But what about the blood from the legs? How's that getting back there? It's no, but that's a good guess. Peristalsis is a good guess.
It has the valves that are.
It's got the valves, right? As soon as the valves work with what are called muscle pumps, those veins run through muscles in your legs, and as soon as your muscles contract, they actually push blood up, and then the valves catch it on its way back down. So it's a stair-stepping effect. That's why if you're just sitting there forever, you want to fall asleep, because blood's not getting back into your heart and it's not getting pumped to your brain if your brain shuts down, right? That's what makes you so sleepy if you're not moving. It's a simple concept. So what is also required for blood to get back to the heart is a strongly beating heart as well. So you got to have a good pump at the beginning in order for blood to kind of seep back into the heart at the end. If you've got congestive heart failure, that's an issue because you can't pump blood. But the issue on the opposite side of the spectrum is that blood's not getting back into your heart. It's called venous return of blood through the veins. We'll also see that later. So here's some fill in the blanks here. We've got about 5 factors that control blood pressure. That first factor is blood volume. If you've got a larger just volume of blood in your vessels, a larger amount of fluid in there, then what do you think is going to happen to your blood pressure? It's going to boost, right? We've got more fluid in the vessels. What is blood mostly, guys? What is in blood? If we had to list all the stuff that composes it. Platelets? Yep. RBCs, WBCs,
Hemoglobin, hematocrit, glucose.
Glucose, hemoglobin, and hematocrit are measuring the amount of red blood cells, but those are numbers, those are measurements. We're missing the biggest one, right? Water. Good. Couldn't hear you, you were too far away. Water! We've got water in there too. So most of your blood is water. We kind of forget that. We see the red, we just think, oh, it's all red blood cells. Nope, it's mostly water. And it's actually composed of 60% of your blood volume. So if you are overhydrated, what's going to happen to your blood pressure? Too much water.
That's going to go increase?
It's going to be increased, right? It's going to because you've got more fluid in the vessels. And if you're dehydrated,
it's going to be low.
You're hypotensive, right? You've got a low blood pressure, and that's part of this. Those are part of the symptoms of dehydration there. So how do we, if we know that the high blood pressure is caused by excess water, how could you easily treat that person in an acute manner? Go ahead. Yeah, a diuretic, right? Lasix is a perfect example. So Lasix can be used to treat high blood pressure, at least acute high blood pressure. You don't want to be on a diuretic for too long, though some people are prescribed diuretics. Do you have any experience with this? Like, how long are people on diuretics for?
I've
just
been
for my
on
own?
a diuretic for probably 10 years.
Okay, so I guess it's.
But mine's
Does it
for my
affect
ear.
your? It's for what?
My ear.
Oh, really? Huh.
The side effect is it helps with my blood pressure.
That's awesome. That's why you have the low blood pressure.
But I have long-term, the name just left me, vertigo, but it's
Oh,
Meniere's.
okay.
Long-term Meniere's.
Hmm.
And I've had it for 30 years
Is that
where I
the-
take Anavert when
Okay.
it triggers.
So it must be just a low dose diuretic then,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Okay. Huh.
12.5.
All right, good. I learned that you can be on diuretics for years.
Yeah,
Good.
because I get fluid collects in my inner ear and throws my balance off.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So he has me on it to keep the fluid out of my ear.
Okay. Yeah, and it's used to treat any buildup of fluid anywhere. Pulmonary edema, which is buildup of fluid in the lungs, is pretty bad because it decreases your gas exchange ability to do gas exchange. So you'll be put on diuretics to get rid of that stuff as well.
People are on 3 and 4 blood pressure meds.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
diuretics. And
Yeah, it's insane how many medications people are put on due to that hypertension. You can
Well,
you
they
can
seem
cure
to keep
hypertension
adding,
with
but they
diet.
never take away.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean.
And so it's allowing people to keep their same eating habits and making it worse. over
Giving an
time.
80-some-year-old woman with dementia 20 meds at a time is for the birds.
Yeah.
They really,
Yeah. So you've got experience with this stuff.
yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. We've got blood volume is affecting blood pressure, right? If we have more blood, we have a higher blood pressure. Strength of heart contractions. What was that equation that we looked at last week? There were 3 parts to it. I'll give you the first part. Cardiac output equals. Gotcha. Cardiac output equals. I'll give you heart rate times. What does it mean when what's the definition of how strong your heart beats? Or how much blood is pumped out of your heart per beat?
Times stroke volume.
Stroke volume, right?
Yes.
Stroke volume. Cardiac output equals heart rate plus stroke volume. Nice. Nice. Good note. If your heart is stronger in people who do marathon runs, people who exercise, just any sort of cardiovascular exercise, even just walking, increases the size of your heart. Now, I'm not talking enlarged heart syndrome. I'm just talking strength and size of just those ventricles. They increase in size. They actually, you put muscle around the outside of your heart rather than the inside of your heart with exercise. It's called exercise hypertrophy. And as you build up your heart, your stroke volume actually increases. Now that's a good thing. That means your heart doesn't have to beat as many times per minute. So that's why a low pulse indicates a very strong heart. But if that stroke volume increases suddenly due to an epinephrine boost or some sort of stressful event, or due to an actual left ventricular hypertrophy, which is diseased hypertrophy of the heart, what's going to happen to the blood pressure? It's going to boost, right? If your heart is beating stronger and the heart rate stays the same, your blood pressure is going to increase heavily. So a stronger heartbeat increases blood pressure. Therefore, a weaker heartbeat or weaker contractions decrease that blood pressure. Pretty simple one here, but if the heart rate increases, what happens to blood pressure? It goes up, right? And if the heart rate decreases, your blood pressure goes back down. So thickness of blood. Any athlete, any professional cyclist, or Olympic athlete that has anything to do with like an endurance event is probably blood doping. Did you guys know that? Most Olympic. Huh?
Is it that illegal?
It sure is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they're so good at it they never get caught. So think of like this: the American Olympic biking team. Every biking team, for that matter, in terms of Olympics, has a team physician. Well, that physician isn't there to treat whatever they have. It's to give them drugs. Seriously, not kidding you. Everybody who rides in the Tour de France is blood doping. I would say. Did you guys watch that interview with Lance Armstrong on Oprah?
No, but I know he told about.
Dude, he told on everybody.
Oh, I thought it was.
Inadvertently, he was like, yeah, out of hundreds and hundreds of riders, he said about 3 are not blood doping. And where do you think they finish?
Wow.
All the way in the end.
What is blood doping?
Yeah, blood doping is increasing the amount of red blood cells in your body. You can do this naturally, but you have to train at altitude to do it naturally. That's why you hear people go to Colorado to train for stuff. So there's a hormone called EPO. Your body makes it naturally. EPO stands for erythropoietin. That word erythro means what? Red, right? So that's poietin is creation of red blood cells. EPO is made in your body under normal circumstances. Where are your red blood cells made in your body? Your bone marrow, right? As soon as EPO gets into the bone marrow, it increases red blood cell production, red blood cell count or number. Your body only does this as in terms of homeostasis. If the amount of red blood cells goes down, your body secretes some EPO to bring you back up to a normal level. But if you're doping, if you're blood doping, you're taking high levels of EPO externally, synthesized EPO, made in a lab. So you are increasing, like skyrocketing the amount of red blood cells you have. If you're training at altitude, you can increase them a little bit, but not quite as much as EPO will increase them. So if you're on EPO, you're getting more red blood cells. Why would that help you in an endurance event?
Oxygen.
Those red blood cells, picture this as red, and that's a blood cell, carry all the oxygen around your body. If you've got more red blood cells, you can carry more oxygen. And therefore, your muscles can work for a longer amount of time. So that's what everybody does, and if you don't do that, you lose. It's that simple. And so that's what he said. He was just like, well, it was basically one of those things, well, everybody's doing it, sort of thing. And it was a really interesting interview. If you get a chance, YouTube
So they
it.
really can't detect it, can they?
If you do it right, they can't, and that's why they have physicians on their team. Yeah, pretty crazy. They'll go into trailers about halfway through the race and in EPO themselves, blood doping. Why could that be bad? What happens when you start to increase your red blood cells too much? What if you don't have a very good physician and he doesn't do good calculations and he gives you too much EPO? What does that do to the composition of your blood? It makes it thick. It makes it really thick, right? And as you increase the thickness of your blood, what happens to your, the second part? More than normal viscosity. Viscosity is thickness. Leads to, what do you think? An increased blood pressure. If you boost it too high, your heart won't be able to handle it. It'll just be like, just picture molasses being pumped through your bloodstream. That's essentially what might happen if you overdose on EPO. Your heart's going to be like, I can't pump that, dude. I'm not going to pump anymore. I'm just going to give up. And so their hearts will stop. And that happens like once every few years. And an Olympic athlete will die from that. And you know exactly what they died from afterwards. They can tell, because when they look at the autopsy, the blood is like super thick.
So less than normal was the decrease?
Yes.
More than normal was the increase?
Exactly.
So it's not like you just take out their blood and then halfway through the race, pump it back in.
No, they're just
Just
they're just giving themselves that hormone. Yeah. Yeah. So blood doping, it makes you think, oh, they're just injecting themselves with blood, but no, they're actually building it on their own. Pretty crazy stuff. So resistance to blood flow also plays a factor. Let's look at how resistance happens. First of all, what layer of the blood vessel acts to constrict or dilate that blood vessel? The tunica media. Good. The